All right, guys, today I want to introduce you to the Data First Doctrine. The Data First Doctrine is our framework, our operating system, so to speak, for an organization to truly become data driven. See, a lot of organizations use the buzzword data driven. They say, we want to be data driven, but what does that actually mean, right? Being data driven means that you make different decisions because of the data that you have than you would have otherwise. It doesn't mean, hey, we have some reports and some dashboards and we selectively pick data to back up our gut feeling. It doesn't mean that we do a lot of manual Excel crunching and we put a lot of charts in PowerPoints just to talk about why we chose to do what we did, even though we didn't use the data to make that decision. Being data driven means that you use the data you have to make different, better decisions because of the data, right? Most organizations fall short in actually becoming data driven. So that is why we designed the Data First Doctrine as an operating system that can help organizations truly become data driven and make better decisions with data. Now, for those of you who have paid attention to what we do as an organization, you will notice that the first pillar of the Data First Doctrine is something that we talk about a lot, and that is our process maturity framework. But it's combined with three additional pillars. So there are four core pillars of the Data First Doctrine. First, pillar one is our process maturity framework. Pillar two is what we call the data foundation model. Pillar three is the role clarity engine. So this pillar is designed for people alignment, the alignment of talent and skills inside of your organization. And then pillar four is neural business architecture, right? And so the system is about executing our operating system, the Data First Doctrine, by starting with the process, pillar one, the process maturity framework, evolving the data to build a foundation for actually being data driven, aligning the people so that you have full alignment of data, process, people, and technology, and then moving into the future, which is leveraging advancing technologies like RPA tools, AI, to build automation and scalability into your business processes, actually becoming data driven to deliver real business outcomes to your organization, right? So let's start by doing a quick overview of each pillar. Now, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the process maturity scale because we have a lot of other videos that cover it. But the process maturity scale is the cornerstone of the Data First Doctrine. And as a part of pillar one of the Data First Doctrine, you want to advance to somewhere in between level 3 and level 4 on the process maturity scale for your core organizational processes. So for those of you who haven't seen the process maturity scale before, it's an 8-level framework that is designed for evaluating the maturity of your critical organizational processes, right? So the idea is you define your critical organization processes and you figure out where they fit on this framework. And then wherever they land, moving up the framework, up the ladder, gives a roadmap for how to optimize and improve the maturation of those processes, right? The reason why we design this is because a lot of organizations want to jump to the latest buzzword, AI, automation, all of these things, but they haven't built a foundation that supports true ROI positive use cases for these emerging technologies. And so this framework is designed to build a foundation that allows you to mature into having really positive applications for technology like AI, right? And so this is kind of broken into three tiers, levels 1 through 3 of the process maturity scale. We consider foundational framing. There's definition, ownership, and understanding of what the process is. So you're going to define KPIs, you're going to process map so you understand how the process actually happens. You're going to really build a strong foundation of understanding on the process itself. Then levels 4 through 5 are kind of some of your traditional Six Sigma process optimization, right? We're going to focus on standardization, measurement, and defect reduction, right? So we want SOPs, we want a data dictionary, we want to start to build measurement systems. And then as we get into levels 6 through 8, that's your digital transformation level, right? So automation, innovation, scalability, AI integration, all of those things are happening in that level 6 through 8 tier on the process maturity scale, right? So this framework or this lens through which to evaluate processes is the cornerstone of our Data First Doctrine. Now, For the first pillar of the Data First Doctrine, you're just going to take your critical organizational processes and focus on scaling them to level 3, 4-ish in the process maturity framework, primarily level 3. What this is going to do is this is going to allow you to define how a process happens with a process map and KPIs. How do you measure success? What does winning look like on that process, right? From there, you can move on to the data foundation model. The data foundation model is pillar 2 of the Data First Doctrine. The data foundation model ties in closely with achieving level 4 on the process maturity framework. What the data foundation model is it's a way for you to build data structures in your organization to create a hierarchical structure of data. And what I mean by that is, at a high level, executives love to focus on revenue, profit and loss, NPS scores, customer acquisition costs, things like this, right? But if you tell somebody, hey, we need to improve our NPS, that's kind of an impossible task, right? Because there are a million different things that could contribute to NPS ratings. So you have to take that down to the next level. Well, what contributes to NPS? Well, it could be the performance of our individual employees. How well do they know their job? How well do they answer questions at a help desk? It could be delivery times. It could be response times if it's through a ticket inquiry, right? Like it could be the desired outcome is actually taking place inside of a transaction, right? Depending on your business, there can be a lot of different things that affect NPS. But even then, let's say that we focus in on delivery time. Let's say that you're a manufacturer who ships product and you focus in on delivery time as the number one driver of NPS. Are you delivering something on time or not? Well, even at that level, that's still an impossible task if you say we want to improve delivery time. How? For that, you need to go one step further. You need to get down to the actual things that move the needle on delivery time, right? And so that could be production time. We don't produce things fast enough, therefore we're shipping late. That could be the outsourcing of your vendor who is doing your delivery. They're not delivering on time, right? But you have to really dive down to the transaction level details to figure out what is the lever that we can actually pull that will move the needle for NPS. So the NPS is the top of the house metric. You drill that down to delivery time as kind of the mid-tier metric that can move NPS, but then you drill into vendor performance SLAs as the thing that actually needs to be managed, the lever you can actually pull to improve delivery times, which in turn delivers NPS. So this is called a hierarchical data structure, and it's being able to drill all the way from the top of the house to transaction level detail, right? And so the data foundation model is about establishing the 3 tiers of analytics inside of an organization. So at the top, you have executive analytics. This is the scoreboard. How are we performing as an organization? Then in the middle, you have operational analytics. Operational are management and director level measures about how individual groups, processes, and functions are performing. These are the levers you can pull to improve executive analytics. And then in the lower level, you have performance analytics. These are the activities that actually feed into the levers. These are transaction level data elements, and they are about measuring performance of individuals, of vendors, of individual processes, and all of those things, right? So revenue, for example, is a lagging indicator. You can't fix revenue. If you want to fix revenue, you have to be able to drill from revenue all the way down to the performance analytics level transactions that impact revenue, right? That's important if you want to actually be able to move the needle. Most organizations do not have a hierarchical data structure in their reporting and measurement systems that allows this actual drill through all the way through their data. And what that does is it causes an issue doing root cause analysis on the things that you actually want to improve. And it prevents organizations from truly being data-driven because they see at the top of the house, revenue is decreasing, NPS is decreasing, customer acquisition cost is going too high. But because they lack that hierarchical drill-through ability, they can't actually answer the question of why and what levers do we need to pull to reverse that trend, right? And so pillar 2 of becoming truly data-driven using the Data First Doctrine as an operating system is building the data foundation model structure building a hierarchical data structure that allows you to drill all the way through. And this is also going to help your core processes achieve level 4 on the process maturity framework, which is kind of the cornerstone of the overarching methodology, right? And then from there, we roll into the role clarity engine, right? And so the role clarity engine is focused on making sure that you have the right fit for people in individual roles, right? And so the way you can visualize the role clarity engine is as a wheel with a nucleus and then 3 core components or spokes that come off of that wheel, right? And so inside of the nucleus is the person's actual fit in a role. And there are 3 elements of fit inside of a role in an organization. There is persona, behavioral. So what behaviors do we expect from this person in this role? You want different behaviors from a salesperson than you do from a CFO, right? So are they a behavioral or persona fit in the role? The second one is capabilities. Do they have the skills to actually execute what this role is expected to execute, right? So do they contain the skills? And then the third aspect of fit is desire or motivation. Do they have the desire or motivation to do the work that is required inside of this, right? So if you have a good behavioral or persona fit, if you have a good capabilities or skill fit, and if you have a good desire motivation fit, then you have the right person in the right seat for this particular role. But just because you have the right person in the right seat doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be successful, because there are other aspects of success inside of a role. This is where the spokes or the outer edge of the role clarity engine comes in. So number 1 is you have to have alignment with activity. So what processes are this role responsible for? What processes must they execute, right? So what is the work that you actually expect them to do in this role? Does it align with what was communicated to them and what you hired for? And is it a reasonable amount of work? Have you piled too many things onto this one role, detracting from their ability to do any of it successfully? Or do they have a reasonable amount of work? Do the processes align with what they should be expected to do in their role? And do they have clear ownership of those processes, right? Number 2 is accountability. We talked about KPIs and hierarchical data structure in the first 2 pillars. So it's important to understand that you have to have accountability to make sure that the role clarity engine works effectively. And accountability means we know how success is measured. We know what our KPIs are. So this individual knows how they're going to be scored on performance. They know what KPIs they're trying to maximize. And then the final component of the role clarity engine is authority. They have the actual authority to make decisions in order to optimize their performance to the KPIs that they will be measured against. If you don't have any of these 3 things, then it's like a 1 or 2-legged stool. It cannot stand effectively, right? So you have to have the nucleus correct, which means the fit. You got to have the right persona, the right capabilities, and the right desire for an individual in a role. But then you also have to have alignment. They have responsibility for the correct processes. You have to have accountability. They have clear accountability and they know how they will be measured. But then they also have to have the authority to do what is necessary to perform in the role. If you don't have all of those things, then your roles are broken and they will not be set up for success, right? So this is the 3rd pillar of the Data First Doctrine. You have to align people correctly to make sure that they are optimized for success inside of their organization. And doing this aspect aligns with level 5 of the process maturity framework, which helps you now advance up to be ready for digital transformation, which are some of the more advanced levels of the process maturity framework. Which brings us to the 4th pillar of the Data First Doctrine, which is neural business architecture. Neural business architecture is a fancy name for saying building an automation system. There's a lot of advanced technology out there right now, especially with AI and some of the other tools that are emerging. There are a lot of people who want to take advantage of it. In order to take advantage of it, you have to build a foundational level of maturity that can lead to positive use cases for it. That's why we promote this framework. If you use this framework, this operating system, the Data First Doctrine, and you've got to this point where you are now ready to take on neural business architecture, what that means is you've advanced to level 6 in the process maturity framework. you now have the ability to effectively implement this system, right? And the idea behind neural business architecture is to build a thinking system that automates many activities in a value add way for your organization, right? So step one is the sensor. With your hierarchical data structure, you've now built an environment where you have data that can be ingested live by your sensor to look for things like inventory dropping, like sales spiking, like turnover, like unexpected email activity, whatever it is, right? You now have that ability with your data structures that you establish with Pillar 2 to create detection systems for things that are important to your business. With those detection systems, you can feed into step 2, which is cognition. With the tools that are available in AI, you can now build cognition logic to apply the rules to detect something happening in the data and then think about what that means for your organization and then take action, which is step 3, execution. The system can now automatically take action to resolve that issue. So I'll give you a real example. Step 1, your sensor, your detector, it realizes that you are getting low on a specific material that you order as a raw input in a manufacturing. Your brain reads that input, your cognition engine reads that input and says, hey, we need to order some more of these supplies. Also, because of the seasonality, the reason why we're low is that we're in a really high seasonal demand phase for the products that we use this material in. So we're going to go ahead and order extras to make sure that we have enough to fill all of the upcoming orders that we see in our ERP system. So then we're going to trigger an automatic PO to the vendor for the amount that we need to fulfill all of the orders that are upcoming in our system, as well as the orders we anticipate based on seasonal demand, right? And then that executes. And then it takes the outcomes. Did we order the right amount? Did we not order the right amount? And it learns. Through the machine learning mechanisms, it actually learns how to get better, how to better calibrate the system. And this is a continuous loop. You have triggers that the sensor detects, the AI-driven brain thinks about it, it takes execution, and then it learns based on the outcomes of that execution to improve, and it constantly improves on itself. This is what we mean by neural business architecture. It's a thinking mind behind aspects of your business, and people never have to touch it other than just to supervise and tinker with it to make sure that it's optimized. This is one of the biggest value adds that you can create for a lot of the manual processes that you have in your business. But if you want to get to this stage, you have to build the correct foundation, which is why we have this entire framework, this entire operating system to back it up, right? So we're going to do a lot of other videos that dive more specifically into different aspects of the framework. We're going to talk about how, once you have a foundation to set up neural business architecture, we're going to talk about how to build hierarchical data structures. We're going to do a lot of content and videos around different aspects of this operating system. So if you're interested in it, please subscribe to the channel or follow our page. But this video was just intended to be a quick walkthrough of this methodology. Hope you found it useful, and look forward to pushing some more content out to you. Thank you.